pass a bunch of restrictive measures that the Republicans have been meaning to pass already at the federal level. And then I would just do it. And then I would win the election. And then the president would say, wow, Vivek, you're my favorite VP. Against Mehdi Hasan.
Vivek Ramaswamy, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You and I both grew up as kids of Indian immigrants who loved to debate, super confident, perhaps overconfident in our views. But here's the difference. I kind of know my limits. You, on the other hand, having never held or even run for any elected office before, be it Congress or even school board, having not voted in 3 presidential elections in a row, suddenly now want to be president, go straight for the top job on planet Earth. Your critics would say that's the epitome of tech bro arrogance. What is your response to them? I get that you're an outsider. Personally, I like outsiders. Yeah. But what have you done that even qualifies you to be president of the United States?
So look, Mehdi, I have been taking on bureaucracies my entire life. I took on the bureaucracy of big pharma starting in my late 20s, at a time when I think pharma was corrupt and going in a lot of directions that they shouldn't have been. I actually built a multi-billion-dollar business developing medicines that pharma had abandoned. I took on the ESG bureaucracy, competing with firms like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard to build a successful firm called Strive. Yes, none of that is in government, but it is in the private sector. It involves...
I love that. Like, even when he's criticizing peak private government corruption, or private company corruption, he's still like talking about big government bureaucracy that is at fault here with fucking pharmaceutical corporations. It's like, bro, you're literally talking about taking down private companies, like, entirely. Like, what do you mean? His cadence is so fucking frustrating. I agree. Chatter, who said, I'm already mad his cadence irritates me to death. His cadence is deeply and undesirably frustrating. He is such a fucking relentless, annoying little debate lord. I can't stand him. I hate the way he fucking carries himself. I think that Americans will also not appreciate the way he carries himself. Like, I don't think that there is a big appetite for a fucking debate lord like this. He can't do it like Trump. He's too smug. He's too actually. He is actually personified. He comes across way too smug, comes across way too elitist, comes across way too entitled, and I don't believe that that makes for a successful candidacy. I had a bunch of food. For those of you who are wondering, I had a bunch of different food. I had buffalo cauliflower. I had buffalo chicken. I had tacos. Tacos were good. Everything else was like kind of mid or just all right. Ooh, you in Mexico? Tacos were good.
Taking on bureaucracies. Okay. And that exactly is my mission here, is taking on the biggest bureaucracy of all, that in the federal government in Washington, D.C. And the other thing I'll add to that, Mehdi, is it's not just the outsider pitch. I think we do need an outsider. I think it's good to have a business background. But I'm also an outsider who deeply understands the law and the Constitution in this country. And I think that's the unique combination that actually makes this my calling. And I hope that we're going to be successful in reviving this country.
So you talk about your business background. Let's talk about that. You made your name and made a lot of your early big money from pushing an Alzheimer's drug that had already failed 4 clinical trials when you bought it. You then talked it up on CNBC, in Forbes, on the cover. Your company's subsidiary shot up by billions in value when it went public in 2015. But then the drug failed its phase 3 trial on your watch. The company lost 75% of its value in a single day. Ordinary investors like the California State Teachers Pension Fund lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you cashed out beforehand via your parent company to the tune of, I believe, over $37 million. Your critics say it's a classic pump and dump scheme. What do you say to them?
Yeah, Mehdi, that's the standard opposition research during politics reading line. Anybody in the biotech industry knows this story very well. 99.7% of Alzheimer's drugs have failed. That's thousands of drugs. Mine was one of them. But the company I founded, Roivant, developed a range of medicines. And the way I made my money was not through the failure of that Alzheimer's drug. This is one of the pieces of misinformation from opposition research. I could have sold shares in that subsidiary Alzheimer's company, but didn't. So the person who was hurt by that was me.
Hold on.
But
you say this a lot, but you did sell.
The person that was hurt by that was me. How about the fucking hundreds of thousands of people that have Alzheimer's in their family that thought this drug could be helpful? How about the teachers' pension funds that bought into your fucking bullshit? Vivek is actually a lot smarter than the other candidates. And yet right here, his counter is reminiscent to Logan Paul. How can you say it's a pump and dump when I engaged in the pump and then I didn't dump all of it? I dumped some of it, not all of it. And I could have dumped a lot more.
Shares in Roivant, and you made $37 million.
And Mehdi,
$37 million.
Mehdi, I think you owe it to your audience. Mehdi, I think you owe it to your audience to be accurate. That is shares in a different company, not Axovant. And those shares that I sold are worth, and those shares are worth dramatically more today. So I would have made more money had I held on to those shares. So don't believe what the opposition research purveys through the media.
Opposition research. We looked at your tax returns, which you very kindly have released.
Yeah, exactly.
And you made
voluntarily released. Because I want to be transparent.
You made $300,000 in 2014 on capital gains. In 2015, after the IPO of this Axovant, you made $37 million in capital gains. Yet others didn't make that kind of money.
After Mehdi, give me a break. After Roivant, the multi-billion-dollar business that developed 40-plus medicines, yes, I sold shares in that. And that business, if I may actually allow you to know how I made my money, developed 5 FDA-approved therapies that are now FDA-approved today.
After you sold
one of them is a life-saving therapy in kids.
When you were CEO,
Another one, they were FDA. Actually, over the time that I developed them, we took them all the way through phase 3, and then we did a $3 billion deal that actually
they were approved a year and a half later after you sold the company.
Yeah, so Mehdi, I'm not going to fault you for not knowing the first thing about biotech because that's not your job. But getting through phase 3 is the final stage of clinical testing before you hand in the application. Yes, my company did a $3 billion deal that actually did make money for those shareholders. And so, yes, I have built Roivant's a publicly traded company, nearly $10 billion public company today that I built as the sole founder from scratch as one of several companies that I've built. So, yes, I have a business record that I'm proud of and will equip me to lead this country.
You mentioned stage 3 trials. The Alzheimer's drug failed it after you did a lot of touting of it. You say 99.7% failed. You never said that at the time. Do you have any regrets about how you hyped that drug?
I did say that.
CEO of Roivant said this week that you hyped the drug. Do you regret hyping it?
We did not hype the drug. To the contrary, actually, one of the things that I found
this week.
Well, I can't speak for what is or isn't. I haven't read any article that you're quoting, so I don't exactly know what you're referring to. The fact of the matter is, though, I have been transparent at.
Oh, that's interesting. So, what do you have to say to the CEO of the company that you built from the ground that is saying you pumped it? That's so weird. Dude, every time he gets fucking owned, he immediately is a deflection machine. Dude.
Every step of exactly know what you're I can't speak for what is or isn't. I haven't read any article.
Mehdi Hasan is just the annoying debate pervert that you need in a situation like this, by the way. He's so good at debate pervertry. And it shows. He's not letting him misdirect. He's not letting him engage with anything but what he wants Vivek to engage in.
That you're quoting, so I don't exactly know what you're referring to. The fact of the matter is, though, I have been transparent at every step of the way. Everyone who is in the biotech industry knows that Alzheimer's disease is the graveyard for medicines. But I still think it's an important area of need. And I'll say this, Mehdi, is you know what? If I serve for 2 terms, I'm still going to be in my 40s when I leave the White House. It is a personal passion of mine to come back and see if Alzheimer's disease hasn't been cured. I do want to play a role in still.
He's like, I'm going to come back and pump and dump again, bitch. You better not stop me. He said, I did it once and I'll do it again, motherfucker. It's that easy, dog. You can't stop me, bro. I will be president and then I'll do pump and dump again.
Delivering treatments and cures for that disease. And people who don't take risks, don't achieve meaningful impact. The medicines that I did develop, I'm proud of. And you don't get there without having a number of medicines that you test along the way.
Bro, this motherfucker's acting like he made the medicine in the shop. You know what I mean? He's acting like he was cooking it up or something. Like fucking Walter White in the kitchen. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. You're the money guy. And as the money guy, as the fucking money guy, your job is to pump it. That's it. And you pumped it. You pumped the Alzheimer one. You still made out like a fucking bandit. Like, oh, I could have made so much more money. It's so stupid. It's such an insane thing to say. Oh, I was the real victim here. Yeah, good luck. Good luck describing that. Let me tell you something. Vivek is a debate pervert of the highest magnitude. He's such like a 4chan style debate pervert. Now, of course, that kind of stuff is like really fun online because there's a lot of A-worded debate perverts out there who love this kind of like blood sport, right? They like that. They want someone to be eloquent. They love when that person is like representing their interests as well, or not interests, but necessarily their talking points. Problem is, in the real world, nobody fucking likes that. Nobody likes the Groyper debate lord shit. And unless you have like a cadre of 4chan weirdos that can like at least cut content and make your interlocutors look silly, clip them out of context, ruin their lives, dox them, consistently fucking try to pursue them online, cyberstalk them, and like turn them into lol cows, you're not actually gonna be able to move the needle at all. Donald Trump was only able to engage in this kind of stuff because he has the telegenic presence, the charisma, and the audience that came along with it. Okay? Vivek doesn't have any of those things. So that's why he just keeps coming across like a guy who keeps saying, actually, things are not the way that you claim they are. You are describing yourself way too much. Donald Trump doesn't do that.
Way. And the other thing I will say is our success rate under my watch was higher than probably nearly 99.9% of biotech startups in the last decade. So yeah, I stand by that record. I'm not afraid of taking risks. That's part of the American spirit.
Well, technically, the successes were a year and a half after you sold the company, but we'll get bogged down. Let's talk politics.
Mehdi, that's dead wrong. And I would sorry to say you're embarrassing yourself in front of anybody who knows anything about biotech for knowing that phase 3 trials are the final stage.
Okay.
The final stage, the FDA phase 3 studies succeeded. So you're barking up the wrong tree, but we can continue to move on.
Let's talk politics. Let's talk politics. We do. We want to talk lots of stuff. Sure. You're an advocate, your critics say, of fantasy politics, of magical things.
Even right here. I don't know shit about biotech. Okay? What he's saying might be right. What he's saying might be right. But who fucking knows about biotech, idiot? People in the biotech industry only know about biotech. So, in the eyes of the American public watching this interview, Mehdi Hasan is fucking destroying you by saying, well, those things got FDA approval after you left. So, your annoying semantic ass is actually getting owned, even if you are factually correct. Do you understand what I'm saying, chat? Like, he might be right. Vivek, I think, might be right about stage 3 clinical trials being the most important part. It's basically once you pass that, you basically have FDA approval, right? But Americans don't fucking know that. So when Mehdi Hasan turns around and says, yeah, all of those drugs that you worked on, that you claim to work on, only passed FDA approval a year after you fucking left the company, most Americans are going to agree with Mehdi Hasan instead of Vivek, because most Americans are not in biotech. So even then, he's like losing, optically speaking. Even if he might be technically correct, he's losing.
They say you propose stuff that can't be done. For example, you said on Meet the Press the other week that if you had been in Mike Pence's place on January the 6th, you would have insisted on first passing a bill that night to bring in single-day voting on Election Day.
That's inaccurate.
Government issued
I never said that night. I never said that night.
What you would have done on January the 6th, and you said I would have done this. And
I said what I would have done differently is that I was precise about the period between, and this is still ambitious, I will admit, but at least let's get my view correct. It is ambitious. Between November 4th and January 6th, I think it was an opportunity for heroism.
Just to be clear, you never said anything about
have said it every step.
Let's play the clip, guys. Do we have the clip?
I've said this in countless forums.
Have a listen to the clip.
On your Chuck Todd spliced script, in all of my written statements and everything I've said,
hold on, we're playing the clip right now.
In that period between the election. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on Election Day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID matching the voter file. And if we achieve that, then we have...
That's awesome. They muted his ass, bro. They fucking muted his ass to pull the receipts. I mean, come on, dog. He just put you in fucking timeout like you're a little boy. And you just gotta sit there and eat it, too. There's nothing you can do. You're running for president, right? He's like, mute, react to yourself.
Have achieved victory, and we should not have any further complaint about election integrity.
So what would you have done
through the Senate?
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform. Then on that condition, certified the election results, served it up to the president, President Trump, then to sign that into law, and on January 7th, declared the re-election campaign pursuant to a free and fair election.
Also, he is a little boy. Like, he's not just a little boy because he just got punished here and he had to shut the fuck up. He's a little boy because of, like, his argument. Like, his idea of, like, what he would do instead of January 6th is so stupid. Like, are you a kid? Like, I would just immediately do a re-election. I would just pass a bunch of restrictive measures that the Republicans have been meaning to pass already at the federal level. And then I would just do it. And then I would win the election. And then the president would say, wow, Vivek, you're my favorite VP.
Election.
Vivek, not only do you not mention anything about November, but let's say you did do November. That joint session was not a legislative session. The vice president doesn't have the power to introduce legislation. Neither party would have backed such a...
Yeah, thank you. Oh, my God. God, Mehdi Hasan is so good. It's like, as vice president, you're going to introduce legislation? Like, what the fuck are you saying, dude? And then, like, people are going to be on board with it, too, magically. He's like, well, it's ambitious. No, it's not ambitious. It's made up. You're saying made up things.
Bill.
Oh, come on,
it couldn't have been passed in a day.
The fact of the matter is,
naive stuff.
The president, the president and vice president absolutely drive legislation through Congress. That is exactly how things work.
Trump wasn't doing legislation. He was busy pushing the big lie, as you pointed out yourself.
Wait. What legislation is Mike Pence passing, man? What the fuck? The make it legal to fucking lobotomize gay teenagers act or whatever? Like, what? Like, if anything, the party puts forward legislation, a legislative agenda, and the president will be on board with it or whatever. But, like, the VP introducing legislation in Congress is fucking ridiculous. No anal sex act, NASA. Like, also, Donald Trump is a unique one because, like, he didn't really do that. Obviously, like, the Brandon agenda exists, but But as far as Michael Pence and Donald Trump goes, like they weren't super active, I feel like, on that end.
In your books.
Well, so he wasn't there. I wasn't the vice president of the United States.
Passed a bill, but
I was not the vice president of the United States. You guys in the media, you guys in the MSNBC crack me up to sort of create a hypothetical situation to say, if you had been vice president, what would you have been doing? I'm telling you exactly what I've been doing, but you're saying, but that's not what Donald Trump was doing. This is a joke. Let's actually have a substantive conversation. Do you want to have a substantive conversation about what should have happened, or do you want to play a game of gotcha? Because you have the choice. The choice is yours. Do you actually want to have a substantive conversation? If you do, I'm down to do it. Do you want a substantive conversation? What we need.
You said substantive 4 times.
Actually, if you want to get a word in, you know, if you're going to speak the truth and ask a legitimate question, have at it.
I think it is a legitimate question. Multiple people wondered about your knowledge of how Congress works, suggesting Mike Pence, by the way, on the debate stage, asked you if you would have supported what he did. It's not an MSNBC question. It's a Republican vice president question.
Yes.
So fine, you don't want to answer
it. And what I'm saying is it was a missed opportunity for heroism, not in one day, but I think that in a period of 2 months. And I think you're a smart guy. You understand this. There's an American confidence.
You're a smart guy. It couldn't have been done in 2 months.
I think under extraordinary circumstances, in extraordinary times, we have an American Confidence in Elections Act. It's literally making its way through Congress now. ACE. I support it. I think if we had gotten that done during that window, further we said single-day voting on election day as a national holiday.
And Mitch McConnell wouldn't have agreed to a national holiday.
I think Democrats should agree to it.
We can argue forever. We can argue forever.
I think Democrats should agree to it.
That's a different argument.
That's what I stand for. I think we're still going to get that done.
That's so sick. He's just like, well, I think they should. Oh, okay. No, he was going to get it done, guys. I swear, he was going to get it done. Yeah, imagine they couldn't even get it done on the off season. Like the fuck do you mean?
When I'm the president.
Okay.
When I'm the president. Not in some fantasy land where I was vice president in some other year in the historical history.
Let's talk about you as president.
What I'm running for.
Understood.
This is what we're going to do.
Let me ask a question so we don't run out of time. Please don't filibuster. I just want to ask a question about, you said this is your words. Quote, if you want to stay out of no-win wars and make America stronger at home, I know how to get that done. Genuine question, Vivek, not a gotcha. How? How do you know how to get that done? With respect, you've literally never done anything like that in your life. I could go out on the street, outside the studio, grab someone. They have as much experience as you do of keeping us out of foreign wars. That's not an insult. That's just a statement of fact.
No, it's not an insult. It's a fact, right? And it is also a fact that everybody else who does have experience in the foreign policy establishment has been sending us into no-win wars for a long time. Both of those are facts. Here's how I would do it. Let's get specific, and I'm glad we've finally gotten to the doorstep of actually discussing a policy agenda. Here's what I would do. Pull Russia apart in its military alliance with China. Those two countries are in a military treaty dating back to 2001. That is the single greatest threat that the United States faces. So I would end the Ukraine war on terms that, yes, allow Ukraine to at least come out with its sovereignty intact, which may not even be the track they're on right now. But in return, and also make a commitment that NATO will not admit Ukraine to NATO. In conjunction, and by the way, for people in the foreign policy establishment, they forgot that Gorbachev was made that promise by James Baker in the United States in 1990. So keep our word there. But in return, actually make a hard requirement that Vladimir Putin exit his military alliance with China.
You say
this. Dude, when I'm president, I know, hear me out, guys. I have no experience whatsoever, but hear me out. I'm president. I'm going to make Russia collaborate with us instead of China. 2, Russia's going to pull out of Ukraine. 3, I'm going to make it so that if you're black and you go out to vote, they can shoot you legally. And the Democratic Party is going to vote for this bill. Okay? Election Security and Integrity Act. Democrats will vote for it. Why? Because there's an opportunity to do heroism. All of this will happen. Okay, number 4, Mexico pays for the wall.
this many
and remove
times.
his Russian military presence from the West. That's the deal that I would do.
Again, the fantasy land is why would Putin just agree with you? Why? Because you asked nicely, Putin will hold his word. He'll pocket your concessions and not just carry on dealing with his biggest trading partner, China?
Well, here's the thing. I actually think that China shouldn't be his biggest trading partner. I think it's a mistake that we've closed off economic relations with Russia. I would lead both the United States and the West to reopen economic relations with Russia because Putin does not enjoy being Xi Jinping's little brother. Mehdi, you're a smart guy. Look at what he's done. He's actually sent weapons to both India and Vietnam right after the February 2022 meeting he had with Xi Jinping. There are cracks in that armor, but we need to actually open our eyes to see the opportunity staring us in the face.
We will have to agree to disagree whether we think that you can persuade Vladimir Putin to drop his alliance with Xi Jinping. You have made truth the centerpiece of your campaign. So let's talk about your trustworthiness.
Yes.
For example, when CNN quoted you talking to The Atlantic about 9/11 and federal agents possibly being on the planes, you said the quote is wrong, actually. But the quote wasn't wrong. The Atlantic released the audio of what you saying exactly what they said you said.
Mehdi, actually,
let me finish the question.
Let me be crystal clear.
Let me finish the question.
The Atlantic should release the whole tape. They've refused to do it. Yep.
You said on Twitter Spaces last month that no, you had never supported Bernie Sanders' Masks for All legislation, but you literally put out a tweet in July of 2020 calling it a sensible idea. You also said not once but twice in June and July that the first time you'd ever voted was in 2020 for Trump, but in fact the first time you voted for president was in 2004 for a pro-choice libertarian candidate. How can people believe what you say?
So, Mehdi, let me just go through one by one. The Atlantic, yes, purposefully spliced an out-of-context quote where we have challenged them. They released the tapes. We asked them for the tapes first. They didn't give them to us. They waited then to splice them and release them publicly. I challenged the Atlantic to release that entire conversation. And what was a conversation about how many federal agents were in the field.
You said was wrong. We all heard it. We can play it if you like. No, it is exactly word for word what she quoted to you. You said they put words in your mouth.
Look, if you want... If you want hard facts, here are hard facts. That day, The Atlantic printed it. I said, that looks like something that never captured the character of our conversation. Can you ask Atlantic for the tapes? They said they would refuse to release the recording to it.
Dude, it's so bad. It's so bad, dude. It's so fucking... This is so bad. You're constantly fucking finding yourself... You're constantly finding yourself having to, like, correct the record over and over and over again. Like, you are a campaign devoid of any promises. It's just like, actually, you misunderstood me campaign. That's the only thing you're offering. It's terrible. They're burying your ass, brother. You have to find a way to deflect. I'm taking I'm putting the fucking regular filter back on, okay? I want people to think that I'm in the United States of America and not in Mexico when I'm doing this coverage. I forgot. That's why I put the America filter on. Okay. Yeah, we're back in the USA. Greatest country on earth, where 3-minute ad breaks come at the top of the hour every hour. And if you no longer want to see those ads, if you're living in the United States of A, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Here's a 3-minute ad break now.
To us. So when Caitlin asked me about it, I said, that does not at all sound like the context of what I said. And then, it turns out The Atlantic releases a very... Everybody should listen to it.
You're putting words in my mouth.
It functionally sends the wrong message, Mehdi.
Oh, functionally. Okay. You could have said it's out of context.
It was so badly taken out of context that it misled their audience. It was so badly taken out of context, it was basically a lie and it misled their audience. But ask The Atlantic to release it. So my view here is, here's what I've learned, is the media distortion filters... Mehdi, if they are going to cut something before and after without the question of what the guy is that came beforehand, come on, why wouldn't The Atlantic? Why are they so reluctant to release the whole recording?
Maybe ask because the audio they released, you're still denying you said what's on the audio. Okay, let's ask you this question. Is Donald Trump,
it's a joke that the media is going to selectively edit this, and this is the way this game is played. Politics is dirty, that's okay, I'm ready for it. It's not edited,
just to be clear. Is Donald Trump, as you say now, the best president of the 21st century?
Of the 21st century. Yes, he was.
Let me ask my question. Let me finish the question. Is Donald Trump, as you say now, the best president of the 21st century, who you say you want as an advisor and a mentor if you become president? Or is Trump...
Like, even if you get clip chimped, when you're talking to adults that aren't, like, familiar with that shit, you're screwed. Think about it this way. When I talked to Jeff Wittek's mom, and that was, like, for the memes. Jeff Wittek's mom survived 9/11, 9/11 survivor. Jeff Wittek presented me as a 9/11 defender to his mom. And then he kept playing clips where it was like very clearly spliced. Clips that were like, America needs a second 9/11. Like when I'm talking about like the American government, right? Like, how am I going to on the spot explain that to Jeff's mom? How am I going to do that? I can't. Because, like, the average Joe doesn't understand this shit. And for the record, I don't even think that Vivek was clipped out of context. I think he's like the king of just tossing dumbass fucking takes out there with hopes that, you know, people will pick up on it. With hopes that will get him some prominence. I don't know why.
Trump, as you've said in the past, in your books, on Twitter, a, quote, sore loser who is a, quote, danger to democracy and who did, quote, downright abhorrent and egregious things on January the 6th. Which one is he, Vivek?
So to be crystal clear, between George Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump, those are the presidents of the 21st century. Donald Trump is unambiguously, as judged by the results, the best president of the 21st century. Kept us out of wars, grew the economy. I give him full credit for that. I want to build on that foundation and take this country to the next level.
But you've also called him a sore loser who is a danger to democracy. Those are strong words.
Would I have made the same judgment?
Yeah, man, he's like, you're a fake friend, dog. You're a fucking fake friend. You're a phony. Right at the fucking tippy top.
That he has made at every step of the way. No, I will remind you that I am running for U.S. president because I am best for this country forward.
Can I ask you what they are, Vivek?
Yes.
You say he behaved in downright abhorrent behavior that makes him a danger to democracy. What was it that was downright? Tell me what he did that was downright abhorrent.
Let's actually be really fair to your audience. So on January 10th, 2021, thereabouts, days after that incident, I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal arguing that censorship was the real cause of what happened on January 6th. When asked in response, somebody asked me the question, are you...
I love this. I listened to parts of this interview already. And when I heard this part of the interview, I was thinking like, wow, we are really just the dumbest nation on earth. Because his response there is so telling. Like, Mehdi Hasan is like, you said Donald Trump did something awful and gross. Which is true. If you're like one of those fucking libs, right? If you're one of these, like, I mean, even if you're not a fucking liberal, like what Donald Trump did, as it pertains to just like caring about democracy, was kind of fucked up. Okay? It was anti-democratic. So he has to pedal so hard to be like, no, I am that fucking dumbass. You don't understand. Back then, I might have said something reasonable, but I promise you, that was the old me, and you didn't understand it. I'm actually a fucking idiot. I fucking love sipping on that dumb juice, dog. Trust me, I am stupid as fuck. I love Donald Trump, and I fucking don't think what he did was wrong. And then the funniest counter here is that he went and he wrote an op-ed on the Wall Street Journal, he says, about how January 6th happened because of free speech. Or because of censorship, sorry. And it's like, how do you... Like, what are you saying, dog? What the fuck? Like, how? He's like, no. Like, his counter literally is, no, Mehdi, you don't understand. I might have said what he did was abhorrent. But also, I'm a fucking dumbass. Take a look at how fucking dumb I am. I wrote an article about January 6th being done due to censorship. It's so stupid. It's just, I don't know if I'm doing a good job explaining my frustration here, I guess the short and sweet of it is, if you want to run for a Republican president, you literally have to say in broad daylight on national television to anyone who will listen to you that you think bad things are good and you think good things are bad. And that you might have said in the past a certain bad thing was good, or sorry, a certain bad thing was bad, and you apologize for that now because you actually always thought that that bad thing was good. It's just like it's opposite world every fucking time. Every time he's like, dude, I know that I said what Donald Trump did on January 6th was abhorrent. Guess what? I was a dumbass, dude. I was a dumbass back then. I promise I was a dumbass back then. You don't understand. I promise you I was stupid. I was sipping on the dumb juice.
That's what I wrote. I'm giving you the facts of what I said. That's a hard fact. That was published in the Wall Street Journal. When pressed on, was that condoning what Trump did? My answer was no. There's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime. And we need to be able to tell the difference.
Oh, that's crazy. It was a Donald Trump did a oopsie defense. Like, I haven't heard that one before.
Donald Trump do,
no, I'm not avoiding
in your view, that was downright abhorrent? Second time.
I think that the thing that I would have done differently if I were in his shoes
not what I asked,
is
Vivek,
I would have declared re-election on January 7th.
I'll ask it a third
That's exactly the thing I would have done.
What did Trump do that was egregious, quote, downright abhorrent, and a danger to democracy? Can you just explain to our viewers? Your words.
So you're mixing two different quotes. But what did I think was reprehensible about what happened that day? Look, I think that the way a true leader should have handled that situation should have been to actually say, this is me running for re-election, not actually litigating what is already passed and behind us. And I would have.
That's so funny. Like what? So there's like 57-year-old, heart diseased HVAC guys trying to fucking climb telephone poles and shit. And then cross-spliced that with Donald Trump being like, I'm running for re-election? Like, what? I declared a re-election? That's what he's saying? Also, does he mean like re-election as in 4 years? Or does he mean like, no, we're doing it again? Like, we're just going to do it again. We're going to do a redo. That part I don't really understand. Why did you describe my biological dad? Was he at January 6th? Like, why the fuck? Here's another stupid thing that he's saying. I think it's ambiguous on purpose. Yes, Richie313, you're right. I do think that he's, like, trying to have an out, once again, so he can do that classic Vivek thing, and he's like, actually, that's not what I meant. This is what I meant. I think, like, he wants the dummies to think he means, like, a redo, right? And he can always say, that's not what I meant. I meant, of course I didn't mean a redo. I meant, like, election in 4 years. But here's why he's a fucking idiot, again, and who doesn't know anything about how this process works. Donald Trump announced his candidacy way too early, like historically early already. And a lot of people criticized him for it and said he might get cooked due to overexposure. And then he didn't really say anything or do anything for the rest of that time until, I mean, even now he's not really doing too much. He's just like kind of getting arrested over and over again. And then that's when you hear about him. But ultimately, like, imagine being like, I'm running for re-election right after you lost. You have no advantages there. Like, you have no advantages if you openly run for re-election. Like, why would he do that? It doesn't even make sense if Donald Trump was like a normal guy, like a normal person who wasn't Donald Trump, who didn't just do this endless conquest. He could just say, I never said that. That's a fake quote, and people would actually believe it. No, he needs to deflect away from it, but he can't do a good job deflecting. He just has to be like, actually, this is what I meant.
Have done things differently. That is not a crime, though, what he did.
I understand.
And the reason I have been so vehement...
You keep saying what you would have done. I just want to hear from your mouth. No,
I would not,
unless you're scared of him, why won't you say what he did that was downright abhorrent?
I'm not going to let you...
I mean, we know the answer. The real reason was he was like a bit of a... I mean, he was always like a tech libertarian. Silicon Valley shit. But like a lot of tech libertarians were at least like kind of libtarded at first. You know what I mean? Like libtard coded. Like the Jason Sachs of the world. Like they at least used to be like closer to the liberal side on social issues. While like they were, you know, rugged Ayn Rand followers on all the other stuff. Meanwhile, they all are just straight up psychos now. Like they openly admit it now. They're like, we love Trump, we love DeSantis, whoever the fuck, right? But that's why, because the circles that Vivek was in back then in 2020 absolutely was like, oh yeah, this is oh my, what's happening? Oh my, what's happening on the Capitol is it's making me feel some type of way. Like that's what these guys used to operate like. Because it's like kind of gross to see so many like ugly ass stepfathers who never stepped up try to rush into the fucking Capitol. Yeah, it's uncouth. Exactly, that's the word I was thinking of, but I could not pull. You know what I mean? It's gross. It's disgusting. A bunch of fucking dudes who somehow avoided getting killed by COVID, but certainly will not avoid heart disease, were breaking into the Capitol. It was gross to a lot of people who care about these institutions. And you got to at least LARP as a person who cares about these institutions if you're in a fucking, you know, pharmaceutical industry or a biotech industry.
You're stitching together three things from three different places to create a caricature. Do you want to have an actual conversation?
Yes, I want you to answer my question, Vivek. Three times I've asked it.
What did
Trump do that was downright abhorrent? It's a simple question. It's your words. It's on screen. What did he do that was downright abhorrent?
I believe that failing to unite this country falls short of what a true leader ought to do. That is why I'm in this race, is to do things.
He pulled the fucking receipts. He's like, come on, bro. What do you mean by downright abhorrent? Explain. Why is he this afraid? Here's what I don't understand. Don't sell yourself too short, Vivek. Don't sell yourself too short. I think you'd be fine if you just like ripped at him a little bit every now and then. It's not like you're going to get a fucking job anyway. I just don't think he's going to get the White House job that he's looking for. He's not going to be the VP. Okay? Like, I feel like Nikki Haley has a better shot of being VP than Vivek Ramaswamy does. Okay? He's not, like, they're not going to put him in fucking, maybe HUD, yeah. That's where they put, like, usually tokens that stayed in the race for long enough. But, because, like, they don't give a shit about housing at all. Could be a play at FDA. I doubt it. No. Trump's not going to pick a single one of those motherfuckers running against him for VP. Yeah, I mean, maybe the Virgin. Maybe the Virgin. He's the one that possibly, but even then, I don't think so. Carrie Lake is probably going to be a VP pick. No shot. Dude, I don't know where the fuck you guys are getting the Carrie Lake take from. Dude, no way, dude. Carrie Lake is poison. No, dude. Trump knows how to read the fucking room. Carrie Lake doesn't bring anything new. She didn't even win Arizona. How is Trump going to win Arizona if Carrie Lake lost Arizona? Like, your VP at least should guarantee you a state, right? She won, they stole it. Carrie Lake, let me explain something to you, okay? Carrie Lake's loss is quite literally the worst part of Donald Trump's stubbornness. Carrie Lake lost and kept running the Trump style, it was stolen from me narrative over and over again. And that exact same attitude is the reason why Trump isn't even seen as popular. Because he never shut the fuck up about losing. That narrative and Trump constantly going off on that narrative literally cost Trump multiple primary candidacies that he had. Okay? And it also cost him the midterm elections for the Republican Party. No fucking shot would he turn around and offer Carrie Lake a VP position when she can't even win Arizona. If Trump wants to win Arizona, he can't have Carrie Lake as his VP. Think about that. Think about Arizona as a state. Since the Maverick, what has happened to the state of Arizona? Obviously, it's not due to the Maverick, John McCain. Okay, based anti-imperialist, American warplane destroyer John McCain. God rest his soul. He's dropping planes left and right in the aircraft carrier in the sky. Like, sure, Kyrsten Sinema is fucking awful. I agree. But Arizona went from being fairly red to not so red at all. Blue governor and 2 blue fucking senators. Well, one is now an independent, but it doesn't matter. She duped people and she ran as a Democrat and then she fucked the Democratic Party over. But ultimately, in the eyes of the voters, she was a Democrat that ran on a Democrat platform. And she fucking destroyed the Republican. I know, guys. I'm talking about when she won the election. So in the eyes of Arizona, they went with a Democrat over a Republican. Kyrsten Sinema also kind of was running on a not as progressive as a platform as she always had, or as she originally had, because she was like straight up a fucking America KKK style anarchist Green Party person. But she was running on a relatively progressive platform in Arizona and won on that platform, even though she was awful. And Arizona most likely will elect another Democrat when the time comes. So going with something like fucking Carrie Lake is not going to help you in Arizona at all. She is hot, though. If that's what you guys are thinking, that's what you think is like the reason. You know what I mean? She's a TV person. She's also a TV person. She's crazy, but it's not going to happen. It's just not happening. Anyway, let's continue.
Things differently than any prior president has done them. That's the hard truth, okay?
And that's what made him a sore loser and a
the media
yes,
the reality is none of that is a crime. And the reason I have been so vocal, the reason I have been so vocal is because when somebody actually prosecutes somebody for a bad judgment, and I've been clear,
I understand your objections to the litigation.
I would have made different judgments.
That's not what I asked about. I understand.
That is a distinction we have to draw.
Understood. You say you are anti-identity politics.
Yeah. Heard from a guy in my CNC shop, you were a scholastic terrorist. But you seem like you were doing a Colbert-esque commie bit. Funny stuff. A scholastic terrorist? You mean stochastic terrorist? Or do you mean I'm like, I am anti-book. I guess that's true. It means I want to blow up the book fair? Like, what's happening? But you seem like you're doing a Colbert-esque commie bit funny stuff. I'm so confused. I feel like he tried to do an elaborate bit where he's like, he's just trying to say like, oh, no one is this stupid of a communist. Like, it seems like you're just making a joke. Portraying yourself as like a stupid communist when you clearly are a real red-blooded patriot. Unless you were being sincere, and in which case you're, you know, someone lied to you about what you were watching. Anyway, let's continue. Use chapstick dispenser as a username implies this guy's not a fucking boomer, okay?
Anti-affirmative action in a party that hates the Soros name, yet you accepted a Paul and Daisy Soros scholarship at law school that was specifically set up for the children of immigrants. It was an affirmative action scholarship, and your defense for that is that you didn't have the money to pay for law school, even though you'd already made over $1 million at the time and made another $2 million.
My defense of that is somebody gives you a merit scholarship at the age of 24, you take it. At the age of 24, somebody gives you a merit scholarship, you take it. I didn't say I didn't have the money. I said at a time when I had a lot less money than now. $50,000
you said
was still
exactly, I didn't have the money
to
Vivek.
make.
Bro, I feel like he can't fucking stop. Like, he just has to always say things right at the edge. Like, I don't really get it. Like, I don't know why he just always comes across so bad. Indian crabs in a bucket. Mehdi Hasan has nothing to do with, you know, he's not attacking Vivek because that's another brown man in a position of power or whatever. The fuck? Mehdi Hasan is a very progressive commentator who, I don't know how the fuck they let him on the television show now. He went off on the Peacock. He went from Peacock to MSNBC now. He said, Vivek is right about Ukraine and Mexico. All I'm saying. Hell yeah, brother. You're right. We need to fucking invade Mexico. I agree with you, brother. Let me tell you, after what they did to me at the border, I'm voting. Is it true you broke the Jimmy Fallon story? What's that? I'm invading myself. I'm invading one step at a time, brother.
You keep forgetting your quote. You said, when I didn't have the money.
So, Mehdi, I've made this really easy for everybody. And I did this in the early weeks of the campaign.
Yeah.
I released 20 years of tax returns.
Yes, you did.
Something that no presidential candidate, let alone somebody who's successful in business, has done. I challenge Democrats and Republicans alike, including the Biden family, to do it.
And you know what?
I released it so that you could look at them, so we can have an honest conversation.
Much. And I appreciate that.
The funny thing I've learned,
I do appreciate that. It's something Trump should learn from you.
Transparency is important.
Look,
it's already open and everybody can see it.
Exactly. We have 2009.
But the fact of the matter is, you know what I would advise every 24-year-old should take
2009
$50,000.
And 2010, you made $750,000. You had the money to pay for law school. You didn't need a Soros affirmative action scholarship that you now criticize.
I mean, none of this is worthy, but if you think it is, let's get to the detail. That was actually the first big piece of money.
You say you're anti-affirmative action. You took a scholarship for immigrants.
I'm anti-affirmative action.
So why'd you take a scholarship for the children of immigrants?
Which falsehood would you like me to?
I mean, dude, Mehdi, I should DM him. I mean, I guess he's not going to talk to him again. But if I knew he was doing this interview, there's a couple things I would have loved asking Vivek, like, do you think George Soros's immigration scholarships are good? You know? I guess I could ask him myself, because I will be interviewing him personally. Because, like, I want to know. I'm like, so you got a George Soros immigration scholarship. So you think it's good? It's good that we're allowing immigration. And we're offering him a leg up. Good. I'm glad. We're on the same page, you know? How is he going to sell this to the Republican Party is the real question. Like even if you're not a QAnon guy, if you are a Republican, you are a firm believer that George Soros is the devil, and you're like, without actually recognizing it, 100% believing in like the, you know, George Soros, a Jewish man, is like engaging in the destruction of Western civilization by allowing uncontrolled immigration to come into this country. That is absolutely the position of like most Republican Party voters. Okay? The, you know, the white replacement, the great replacement, all this shit is backed by George Soros, which, by the way, is 100% the exact same propaganda that Nazis used to engage in, for the record. That's what they said all the time. Why does everyone care so much about his irrelevant scholarship instead of ripping into his brain-dead political takes? Because it's infinitely more valid to shit on. Like, it's way more important to shit on all those brain-dead things because it just ruins his chances of winning. Also because, like, it shows that he is a hypocrite, he's a liar, he's not someone you can trust, and that's important for someone who you're going to vote for presidency, right? It's also a lot more fun to do that. Especially because he's running, dude, he's running for Republican presidency. Like, he is running to be the Republican nominee, okay? He wants to be the Republican candidate that will go up against the Democratic candidate. I'm sorry. If you are a World Economic Forum guy, if you're like a fucking Silicon Valley biotech guy, if you got a fucking George Soros scholarship, I mean, you're not making it out the cut. No shot. No matter how hard you dick ride Trump.
To address the financial one or the one about my views on affirmative action, because I can go in whichever order you'd like.
On
the financial piece of it, not at the time that I had applied for the scholarship that fall.
Yes, you did.
December.
Yes, you did. This is awkward for you because you did. I've got the tax returns in front of my face.
No, it's not awkward for you. Yes, on December 31st, when the application for the scholarship was that October. Mehdi, you're wasting your time on childish details in October of that year when I applied for that scholarship. And it was, well, guess what? The bonuses that a hedge fund pays, and it's a shame that, again, you don't have to be an expert on this, but if you're going to spout out, you better know something about it. People pay at a hedge.
Yeah, bro. Tell Mehdi Hasan that you were working at a hedge fund and that your bonuses were $700,000, but you didn't know you were going to get $700,000 in bonuses from the hedge fund you were working at. So you needed the fucking 50 grand from George Soros. Come on, brother. Like, dude, you come across like a vampire, dude. You don't understand how most people will see what you are saying. Mehdi, you don't understand how the hedge funds work, idiot. Anyway, this, by the way, is, of course, as always, a classic HasanAbi trope / rule. Rich people never say no to free money. Okay? They never say no to money. You're out of your fucking mind. It could be scholarships. It could be government subsidies. It could be tax credits. It could be tax cuts. They will never say no to money. Only fucking broke boys are like, government cheese, don't want that. Nah, that's smelly. Do I deserve it? I don't deserve it. I don't know if I'm worthy. What if someone else wants it? Only poor people reject this money. What poor person rejects money? What do you mean? What do you mean? You know how many motherfuckers were in this community literally being like, I don't know if I should take the Trump bucks. I feel like I already have enough money. Like, I don't know if it's worthy. I don't know if I deserve it. Also, it's not just that. Every Republican, unironically, regularly refuses government money. Republicans go and vote against social safety nets that they could take advantage of. What is that if not a poor person rejecting government money? What do you mean? I don't want no handouts, brother. Fuck that. It's like, what are you saying?
Hedge fund the bonuses at the end of a year, and on December 31st, that's when I was paid. I applied for the scholarship that September, and I did not grow up in a wealthy family.
Vivek, you made more money the previous year.
I made $200,000 pre-tax or whatever it was.
No, you didn't.
And you know what?
No, you didn't. You're now selling flat. In 2009,
you have my tax returns in front of you. I don't remember what I made in 2009.
In 2009, you made $650,000. Oh. In 2010, you made less, $450,000. So the argument that
Bro, he needed it, dog. He needed the 50 grand from George Soros. Shut up, Mehdi. $600,000 a year? I mean, what the fuck, broke boy, dude? Get the fuck out of here. What a loser, dude. Motherfucker was basically dead, homie. He was making Twitch streamer money, by the way. God damn.
Scholarship. Free the... Oh, so now we're bringing tax into it. We've been using gross numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vivek, you're wrong on this. Go back and check your tax returns.
$50,000 obviously makes a big difference.
And then you accepted a Soros scholarship for $50,000 when you didn't need it.
Well, you know what the fact is, Mehdi, is $50,000 did make a big difference to me back then. And anybody who has a few $100,000 in the bank is going to take $50,000 without strings attached. Take the scholarship. But my question for you is, why on earth are you, as an intelligent person interested in politics, obsessing over a 24-year-old $50,000 scholarship?
I'm interested in truth,
beneath
Vivek.
you. We have a country to fix.
That you wear. And I'm interested in truth.
And Mehdi, that's why I released 20 years. Mehdi, that is why I released 20 years of tax records. Tell your friends in the Biden administration to do the same thing. Tell your Democrat candidates to do the same thing.
We've gone over time.
We're breaking precedents, and I think it is pathetic. I just think it is sad and pathetic that that we have important issues to talk about for the future of a country, and you're talking about a $50,000 scholarship in 2010 to go to Yale Law School when I was 24.
If you just owned
this is pathetic, and this is why nobody trusts you guys.
It is pathetic in your view, but you paid a Wikipedia editor who then removed it. So clearly it's something you didn't want people to read about. Last question, because we've gone over time and I respect you.
Who also said I was born in India. Who also said I was born in India and misspelled and got my wife's name wrong. So yes, we actually need to correct facts when people are playing this game.
Last question. You want me to ask a substantive question? Here's what I worry about most. Democracy in this country.
I would love substantive
questions. Not just under Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Last question for you. Not just under Donald Trump, but under you, people are worried about authoritarianism. You have preemptively promised to pardon Trump no matter what juries of his peers decide, as well as today extending those pardons to January 6 rioters. You've dismissed white supremacists as boogeymen and unicorns. You want to fire at least half the federal government workforce. That's over 1 million people. You want to remove the right to vote from 18 to 25-year-olds. That's over 30 million people. You want to get rid of birthright citizenship. In fact, you refer to voting and citizenship as privileges when they are, in my view and in the Constitution view, rights. It's a very anti-democratic worldview. What do you say to people who criticize you for that?
I don't think it's an anti-democratic worldview. I favor reviving the lifeblood of our constitutional republic. Revive actual free speech and open debate in this country. Revive civic duty in this country, something that our founding fathers envisioned. Revive true equality in front of the law, where people aren't prosecuted because of the color of their skin, or because of the content of their political views. One standard of the rule of law for everybody. I stand for the founding vision of the country where the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government, when in fact most policymaking functions in D.C. are performed by federal bureaucrats. So yes, my standard is, would Alexander Hamilton and John James and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, would they be proud of what they see today, or would they be appalled? I think if they walked around and saw Washington, D.C. today, they would be appalled. By the time I leave office in January 2033 after 2 terms, they will once again be proud of what we've created, a government with 3 co-equal branches, not 4, shutting down that administrative state, reviving civic duty, and reviving one standard of the rule of law for all Americans. And that is not a democratic vision or a...
I love... My favorite take always is being a brown guy that has to do 1776. The founding fathers literally would have thought you were Indian. And no, I don't mean Indian from India. I mean a person that they genocided. Okay? Like the other kind of Indian. What the fuck are you saying? Like, it's like, oh, I want to bring back... He's not wrong when he does say, technically, that he wants to do some kind of, like, you know, not poll tax, but like some kind of a testing before you actually go out to vote, which our founding fathers would have been on board with, but except they didn't even have to do that because they didn't have to do that for black people at all because black people were not allowed to vote in general. You missed him say the founding father, name of a founding father was John James. Wait, what?
Republican standard of what we've created around. Would they be proud? And John James and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. Standard is, would Alexander Hamilton and John James and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, would they be proud of what they see today, or would they be appalled? I think if...
AJ, bro, what do you mean? What do you mean? John James, dude. Wouldn't he literally fail the civic test if he said, like that's not the second, nor the third, nor will be the last time that he has like said something that would probably cause him to fail a civic test. No, I don't think he was saying John Jay. I think he was probably thinking of, no, it was probably John Adams. Like, there's no way. I think he probably fucked it up or something. There's no, like, that's who you would bring up. Anyway, whatever. Let's keep
If they walked around and saw Washington, D.C. today, they would be appalled. By the time I leave office in January 2033 after 2 terms, they will once again be proud of what we've created, a government with 3
Yeah. By the way, again and again and again, like I said, if you're a Republican, you have to be like a 1776 guy. And it's so funny if you're like black or brown or a woman and you are like a 1776 guy, because like whenever you bring up the founding fathers, when you're either of these things or maybe 2 of these things, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck are you saying, dog? Like, you have no say. You have no say.